going to share some poems written in the 5th century AD by Bhartrihari, who lived in India. The collection I've chosen today is assembled under the heading Passionate Encounters. Discrimination's lucid light continues to shine for learned men, only while it is not eclipsed by the tremulous lashes of women's eyes. When men behold the beauty of women with exotic flashing eyes, youthful pride in voluptuous breasts, creepers of beauty creases twining above their slender bellies, those few are fortunate whose minds are still unperturbed. With smiles, affection, modesty, and art, hostile looks and ardent glances, eloquence, jealous quarrels, and play, with all her emotions, woman enchains us. With the striking of their slipping bangles, the jeweled sounds of their girdles, and their ringing anklets, they shame the call of the royal goose, with the trembling eyes of frightened does, whose mind will girls not destroy. I do indeed speak without bias. This is acknowledged as truth among men. Nothing enthralls us like an ample-hipped woman. Nothing else causes such pain. Women's gestures are naturally charming, seductive only in a fool's infatuated heart. The lotus's passionate red is natural too, and still bees hover there bewitched. The pleasures of sense may be trivial and bitter in the end. They may be spurned and marked as an abode of evil, and yet even the majesty of men, whose thoughts are fixed on truth, wavers in their power. What force throbs in our hearts? Cut off all envy. Examine the matter. Tell us decisively, you noble men, which we ought to attend upon, the sloping sides of wilderness mountains, or the buttocks of women abounding in passion. Why all these words and empty prattle? Only 2 worlds are worth a man's devotion: the youth of beautiful women, wearied by heavy breasts, and full of fresh wine's excitement, or the forest. King, who in this world has crossed to the end of the ocean of craving, and what is the use of great wealth when the body's youthful passion is spent? We frequent a house only as long as the beauty of its lotuses blooms. We go often, so age will not suddenly waste our mistress's shapely form. The sky is dark in a cloak of clouds. Across the hills peacocks dance. The ground is white with fallen blossoms. Where does a traveler dare to rest his eye? In this vapid, mundane world, wise men take 2 courses. They spend some time with minds submerged in the fluid elixir of wisdom, the rest with tender women whose breasts and hips enjoy the pleasure of hiding men's eager hands in their laps of ample flesh. Lured here by curving beautiful brows, there by gestures of modesty, by quivering looks of alarm, by the graces of amorous play, by lovely faces and darting eyes. I am lured by signs of awakening maids, and every direction seems strewn with lotuses blooming for dalliance. A face to rival the moon, eyes that make mockery of lotuses, complexion eclipsing gold's luster, thick tresses that shame the black bee, breasts like elephants' swelling temples, heavy hips, a voice enchanting and soft. The adornment in maidens is natural. There is no ambrosia or poison except in the love of an ample-hipped woman. Enamored, she is an ambrosial vine. Indifferent, a poisonous creeper. Glances cast with dancing brows and downcast eyes, tender words and modest smiles, dallying languor in posture and gait, all are woman's adornment and her weapon. Her smiling mouth, the power of her artless, tremulous glance, the stream of words, sweet with talk of new diversions, her invention of movements, displaying a sapling's lithe grace. What charm eludes a fawn-eyed maiden, entering into the fullness of youth? Who raised this maze of doubts, house of scandal, body town of audacity? Who carved this mine of faults, region of deceits, sowed this field of sham? Who built this bar at heaven's gate, aperture to hell's abyss, wove this hoard of sorcery? Who contrived the woman snare, poison of ambrosial poison, fetter for the world of men? A man may tread the righteous path, be master of his senses, retire in timidity, or cling to modest ways, only until the arrow glances of amorous women fall on his heart, glances drawn to her ear, shot from the bow of her brow, and winged by long black lashes. Bearing the luster of a full moon at its loftiest phase, the lotus face of a slender girl locks honey in her lips. What is tart now like unripe fruit on vines of gourd, when time has run its course, will be an acrid poison. How could men of wisdom let their minds' vigor be sapped, be distracted by the ignominies of courting at the gates of an evil king's palace, were it not for girls flashing lotus eyes, splendid as the newly risen moon, girls with belts of bells playing on fine waists bent by heavy breasts. Women bathed in sandalwood scents, flashing antelope eyes, arbors of fountains, flowers, and moonlight, a terrace swept with breezes of flowering jasmine. In summer they stimulate love and the love god himself. Winds laden with perfumes, branches tipped with tender shoots, mates of cuckoos whose drunken cries express their longing, moon-like faces of women with drops of moisture from sports of love. How do nature's riches spread to make such opulence in summer? Even the scholar of Scripture, though his discipline be thorough and his wisdom profound, rarely partakes of high estate in the world. The culprit unlocking the door to the city of hell is fair-eyed woman's key, her graceful creeper brow. Like waves, 3 furrows of beauty encircle her waist. A pair of wild geese in flight are her lusty breasts. A radiant blooming lotus is her face. Unless you long for the river which bears woman's form and shelters the monster of her moods, escape and shun the worldly water's deadly ablution. A melodious song, a graceful form, a sweet draught, a heady fragrance, then the touch of her breasts. I whirl in sensations which veil what is real. I fall deceived by senses, cunning in seduction's art. O worldly existence, the path that leads beyond your bounds would be less treacherous, were it not for intoxicating glances waylaying us at every turn. Don't let your wandering mind stray in the forest of woman's body. There in the mountains of her breasts lurks the robber god of love. A cloud drenching the tree of passion, a torrent of desire seeking love's diversion, a valued ally of the love god, an ocean concealing pearls of cunning, a waxing moon drunk by woman's thirsting gaze, a mine of tempting treasure. Youth spares only a favored view from the crisis of its turbulence. It is passion's abode, the source of 100 hells of pain, delusion's seed, the cloud eclipsing the moon of knowledge, the love god's loyal friend, in league with sundry flagrant sins. This world boasts no forest with so many flowers of evil as youth. What is supreme among visions? The face of a fawn-eyed maid delighted by love. Among fragrances, the breath of her mouth. Among sounds, her speech. Among tastes, the nectar of her bud-like lips. Among textures, her soft body. What should fill lovers' thoughts when they are young? Her amorous gestures. Surely the moon does not rise in her face, or a pair of lotuses rest in her eyes, or gold compose her body's flesh. Yet, duped by poets' hyperbole, even a sage, a pondering man, worships the body of woman, a mere concoction of skin and flesh and bones. To the blind, the ugly, the barren and decrepit man, to the churl, the man of low birth, and the leper, they yield their seductive bodies in hope of a trifling sum. Who can be enamored of courtesans, knives which slash discernment's wish-granting vine. A courtesan is the fire of passion, flaming with the fuel of beauty, a fire where youth and wealth are sacrificed by lustful men. Through sweet medley of cuckoo's cries and winds of the sandalwood mountains, spring destroys creatures estranged from their lovers. In affliction, even nectar turns to poison. We bow to the god whose sign is a sea serpent, to love, who makes the gods Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu slaves in dark chambers of doe-eyed women, to Kama, whose marvelous artifice eludes all words. Woman is love's victorious seal, imprinting his triumph on all things. Deluded men who forsake her are fools pursuing illusory fruits, fools condemned by love without mercy to become naked mendicants, wearing shorn, tufted, or shaggy hair, and bearing begging bowls of skull bone. Guileful love casts his woman lure abroad into this worldly sea. Fools greedy for our ruddy lips are quickly caught like fish and broiled on passion's flame. When women burn from zeal of frenzied passion, even great Brahma fears to bar their way. White jasmine in her hair, the drowsy look of her face, saffron mixed with sandal paste on her lovely body, a mistress with the languor of seduction in her breasts, is heaven in its highest sphere. When saffron paste stains her body, necklaces dangle on her pale yellow breasts, anklets sound like wild geese on her lotus feet. What man escapes the enchantress's sway? Surely poets are mistaken who call amorous women weak, when their tremulous, wanton glances captivate heroic gods like Indra. How can they be weak? Full, unruly breast, flashing eyes, enticing brows, and bud-like lips full of passion disquiet me. Well they may, but why does a supple line of hair, drawn in her waist by love's flower weapon, become an indelible mark of beauty to torment me so excessively? A deceiver of himself and his peers is the pompous bandit who reviles young women. The fruit of his austerity is heaven, and even heaven is full of nymphs. A certain slender woman was wandering, seeking solace in shadows of forest trees, warding off the moon's scorching rays with the silken shawl held by her hand. When she is out of sight, we long to see her. Beholding her, we yearn for sweet embrace, and when we hold the long-eyed beauty, our bodies crave for union. When she lies on your chest, amid the disarray of her own scented hair, with eyes like slightly opened buds, and cheeks flushed pink from love's fatigue, the lips of a woman are honey, which favored men drink. At First she rebuffs me, then in a mood born of dalliance, passion is roused. Slowly her body falls languid, and composure is shed, leaving her bold enough to indulge in games of love, played by her limbs' abandoned gestures. A gentlewoman's pleasure is my delight. A woman is ambrosial in range of my eyes, but escaped from my sight, she surpasses poison. Spells cannot cure it, nor drugs confound it, nor ritual magic deal it destruction. Passion, like an epileptic fit, attacks men's limbs to inflict the torment of frenzied derangement. The love god must be the vassal of fair, proud woman. He moves to conquer any man marked by the course of her glance. It is strange and perverse that men indulge erotic passion in old age, and that round-hipped women do not stop living or loving when their breasts sag. I prefer being bitten by a terrible serpent, long, wanton, torturous, gleaming like a black lotus, to being smitten by her eye. Healers are everywhere to cure one of a serpent bite, but there is no spell or remedy for me. I was struck by the glance of a beautiful woman. Beside a lamp or flaming hearth, in light of stars or sun or moon, without her fawn-like eyes, my world remains in darkness. With the moonstone beauty of her face, her sapphire black tresses, her hands the ruby of red lotuses, she glowed with the magic of gems. With breasts as heavy as Jupiter, her face radiant as the moon, her languid legs saturnine gait, she glowed with the planet's magic. My girl, you perform a singular feat with the archer's bow. You pierce hearts without arrows, with only the bowstring of beauty. A whitewashed dwelling, the moon with crystal beams, the lotus look of a beloved face, redolent sandal paste, and garlands of sweet fragrance. In a man of passion, all this creates unrest, but not in one who scorns the luxury of pleasure. Rest yourself on a shore of the Ganges, whose waters ward off sin, or between the breasts of a maid, whose necklace snares the mind. If her breasts are full, her hips voluptuous, her face exquisite, why, my heart, do you waste in despair? Earn merit if you covet them. The luxuries elude a man without merit. Flashing streaks of lightning, drifting fragrance of tropical pines, thunder sounding from gathering clouds, peacocks crying in amorous tones. Who will long lashed girls pass these seductive days without their lovers? Beside him his mistress embodying love, languid from games of abandon, the cooing of amorous cuckoos in his ears, a bower of newly blooming creepers, conversation with eloquent bards beneath stray beams of the moon. The heart of any man here is enchanted by spring's varied garlands of color. Your bound-up hair is restrained, your long eyes stretch beyond the mundane pale. The teeth of your mouth are twice born like noble men and pure. Your breasts, which swell like elephants' temples, are a splendid resting place for pearls released from the oyster's hold. Lady, though your beauty speaks of peace, it only incites my passion for you. When clouds shade the sky, and plantain lilies mask the earth, when winds bear lingering scents of fresh verbena and cadamba, and forest retreats rejoice to the cries of peacocks, then ardent longing overpowers loved and wretched men alike. Dressed like a girl in fiery passion, diffusing the fragrance of blossoming nutmeg, and bearing heavy, swollen clouds, autumnal rains arouse any man's lust. Heavy rains keep lovers trapped in their mansions. In the shivering cold a lord is embraced by his long-eyed mistress, and winds bearing cool mists soothe their fatigue after love play. Even a dreary day is fair for men who lie in love's arms. Half the night was spent in the hard embraces of passionate play. Now, on an isolated porch, his insatiable thirst indulges in intoxicating draughts, poured from a water jug by the languid creeper arm of his love-wearied mistress. He is a cursed man who never drinks this autumnal water, a crystal flow shattered by moonlight. Dining on foods rich in curd, milk, and ghee, wearing robes of scarlet madder, warm on their saffron-smeared bodies, they lie weary from pleasure's diversions, wrapped in the embrace of voluptuous mistresses whose mouths are moistened with betel leaf. Favored men lie in winter's ease. Unloosing their hair, pressing closed their eyes, pulling at their garments, exciting chills on their flesh, destroying their composure, biting their lips until great sighs confess their love. The wind in winter is a lusty lover of beautiful women. When his mind and his person, through practice of yoga, hold control over evil passion, and endless benevolence throbs in his heart, what use has the master ascetic for these? The prattle of fond women, honey lips and honey faces, the sweetness of sighs, or wanton embrace of heavy breasts. Renunciation of worldly attachment is only the talk of scholars, whose mouths are wordy with wisdom. Who can really forsake the hips of beautiful women bound with girdles of ruby jewels?